Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream nerds.
So we have the twin version, and one of the problems I have with the twins is the location of the plug and the location of the USB ports here on the side. As you can see, I'm missing the USB port there. So that's because the USB port broke, and because you're sleeping and your pillow's right up here, and if you're charging your phone at night, it's not a good spot. So I needed to come up with an alternative solution. So what I decided to do is I bought one of these, just like the one I bought for the front of the camper. I'm going to permanently mount that here. I'm going to drill a hole for the wire for the grommet. And I've got the dealer gave me a replacement USB. I'm going to put that in at the same time. And then I bought a low profile extension cord that I'm going to plug in over there, and then I'm going to run the wire through there. So the first step is actually taking this thing off. Pretty simple. There are a couple levers on the bottom of the drawer. The drawer slides out. So the trick to putting it back, if you guys haven't done this before, is there's this pin right here. And on the back of the drawer, if you look back there, it looks like maybe a screw's loose or something like that. And what happens is the track locks into there, and then these orange things under here are what actually this thing goes in. That catches the lip on here. So it catches in the front by squeezing those things in. This pin sits in the back of the drawer to keep the drawer from tilting up this way, and it's all in. Best I can tell, there's 4 screws. There's one there, and there's one up in there and one over on that side there. So you can see a little better. There's one right there and one over there. So I'm going to take those 4 screws out and see if that is actually what holds it. So it was those 4 screws. That was it. It's just 4 little screws holding that thing in. As you pull the USB, as you slide it out, you can slide it out a good 6-8 inches. Unplug your USB ports. They're a little tight, so I used a couple pairs of pliers just to hold both sides while I pulled them apart. It looks like on this one, the dealer taped it up because when they took it off originally, so I guess so it didn't short out or do anything. But anyway, once you take those 4 screws out and unplug USBs, you're good to go. I'm going to take this whole unit in the house and take care of it. So before I drill the hole in the top, I went ahead and I put the replacement USB module thing in. But the cables come without any connectors on them. They're just bare wires. And factory, they have the connectors. So I crimped on a couple of connectors, and I have the other ends that I'm gonna have to cut the factory connectors off and put these on. This just makes it easier to take the thing on and off like I have here. I can unplug it, do whatever. I could, crimp the wires together, but then you have no way of servicing it later. So I got that done. I'm now going to take and I'm going to take this up, do some measuring, figure out where the center is, and set the USB power module on top here, just to kind of get a layout. And then I'm probably going to cut the grommet off center so I can push the module farther back. Alright, so the center of this thing is roughly 10 3/4, plus or minus a 32nd. It's really not important for this So this is going to sit probably right in here. I'm just going to Velcro it down. Use a double-sided Velcro just so it doesn't slide around during driving. So it means I'm going to pop this thing in right about there. I can drop the cable right down in it. And what I'm going to do, since the drawer comes back basically the drawer comes back to here, I have this space here that I can do something with. So I'm going to screw something to attach a wire tie to, and I'm going to mount my basically outlets. So I'm probably going to bring it in, probably going to bring the wire up and over and stuff underneath of here just to make it neat, so I have a place to plug stuff in behind the drawer. And since I'm using this thing, I'll have actually 3 plugs. While I only envision us using one, there's also 2 plugs on top of this and all of our USB inputs for our devices. Now, this particular device, as I said before, the USB ports are all 2.4 times 5, so a lot of these devices don't share or share like only one of them is a fast port. This one should be able to charge all your devices at full speed. So if you have any fast charger like Samsung phones or something like that, you'd be good to go. And I really only wanted a 4-port because there are 2 phones and 2 iPads, but we got 5 ports, so you can charge a little Bluetooth speaker we have or something like that at the same time. This seems like it's going to be a convenience. Alright, so I'm going to mark the hole and drill the hole out and start assembly. Yeah, everything's marked and I'm getting ready to drill it. Make sure when you're measuring, you take into account this piece of wood here. As you can see, it's I don't know, it's about 1/2 inch wide, 3/4, something like that. So essentially I measured it out from the end. It's 22 inches, which gives it a little bit of breathing space. So I went back, I got 1.5 inch grommet, so I went back and marked the spot up. When you're drilling with a hole saw, for those of you that might not have done it, best way to do it is to make sure you drill through at least like the formica on this side, and then once you've done it about halfway or a little more, and the actually tip of the hole saw, tip of that drill bit there comes out the bottom, flip the work over and finish it. That way you don't have a blowout on either side. Alright, so drill part of the way. I'm gonna flip her over. Okay. Alright, so it's flipped over. You can see the hole from the drill bit. Make sure that you're drilling into a piece of scrap plywood or some sort of scrap lumber. That'll help even more for any type of blowout or anything like that. Alright, hole's cut, nice and clean. Let me flip this thing over. Nice and clean on that side. So at this point, I always make these videos holding the camera in one hand, so it's just a little tricky sometimes. So now I've got the grommet. Grommet fits in the hole nicely. What I'm going to do with the grommet is I'm going to put a bead of, use my glue gun from the bottom. I'm going to put a bead of glue around the lip to keep the thing from bouncing out driving down the road. Okay, so grommet's glued, drawer, and I've decided to put the drawer back in so I can see the exact amount of space that I have back there. So the power cord is going to come in from this side right here. So I'm going to tie it up around in here so everything can be nice and neat. At this point, I've got the extension cord mounted over here. Got some of the tie points screwed onto the inside of the cabinet. Of course, make sure you use small screws that don't go through. there is, like I said in the beginning, there's enough room to almost stick a finger through here. So this, sitting like this, is going to be perfect. I left enough slack, so I figured anything putting it in is left over, I can slide it back in. It's not going to be in the way. Now I'm going to lay the thing down, mount the power module on top with Velcro, pull the drawer out, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the power cord, just tying it right along, plug it in, and see how it goes. Okay, so I've got the device mounted to the top. Wires coming through here. I just need to get it plugged in over here, and also get it so it doesn't get pinched in the drawers. Okay, there's no real science to this. Just get the wires up out of the way so it doesn't get pinched in the drawer or anything like that. I mean, I've got an extra port, an extra outlet under there that I'm going to use one of these things, just cause less chance of anything sparking out of it or anything like that. All done now. I'm gonna take it out to the Airstream, and I'm gonna mount it back in there, and then get the power plugged in, get the USB re-terminated, wrap it all up. Alright, once you're starting to install it back in, one of the details that I'm not too keen on is the direction of these outlets. Only because if I was to plug this thing in this way, that's the way it is, and I don't want it that way. So I'm going to take out the outlet and rotate it so I can plug it in this way. Since we have metal skin inside and it's not your house, I'd highly recommend you pull power and check to make sure that you have no voltage to this outlet, because chances are you're going to hit one of the leads onto the side of the metal, and that'll lead to some issues. Only take a couple minutes. Okay, so after pulling it out, you can see that it's I've never really been inside of the walls of a camper, but you can see that you have similar to like a old construction box. You have the wings that come out. There are no exposed wires or anything like that. They're all self-contained. Now, the wire itself is pretty stiff, so you have to pull it this way some so you can rotate it around. But it goes in. I've already test fitted. It goes in nice, and we should have what we're trying to do. Okay, outlet's flipped around. I don't have the cabinet screwed back in place, but you can see how the wire is nice and clean now. It goes right down into there, and we should have no issues with our USBs now. One last thing, when you're putting it back together, you can lift this up a little bit to line up the holes, and I'd recommend using a regular screwdriver, not a cordless drill or something like that, to put these screws back in. Only reason is if you torque them too much and you strip them, it'll be a real pain to try to fix. Oh, it works good. I got it plugged in on my phone right now, taking the video. Everything's back in, drawer's back in. The wires aren't interfering in the drawer in any way. The wire down there is nicely done. All in all, I think it came out great.